Hello, unforgettable vocalists. My name is O'Neill Gerald Donald, and you are listening to the Reclaim Your Voice podcast, where we set the stage for your voice to be at its greatest potential. Welcome. If this is your first time, I would love for you to follow this podcast and also check out the other episodes. We've been having an ongoing, wonderful conversation about what it means to actually reclaim your voice. When your voice once didn't belong to you, what we're doing on this podcast is helping you to let your voice be an instrument of your own expression, right? Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to get into those of us that are singers in secret and singers that have that have allowed singing to become a long lost love. I wanted to get into the signs, the symptoms, whatever you want to call them, the signs that you want to sing again. A lot of you are living lives where you are not, well, let's even put it this way. I actually speak with lots of people that live their lives on the day to day, and the circumstances that have unfolded in their lives have caused singing to be on the back burner. Now, being a music major, I know how much the world tells us that singing and that music is something that is not a priority. But for people that are called to sing, singing is something that actually is a big part of us finding success in life. And so there's a lot of us that have chosen to put singing on the back burner because of what the world has told us. And we've started to actually accomplish things in our life, but we are constantly looking back to the love that we once had for singing, and we are living a life of regret. These are the signs that I want to actually get into today, and so that you can rejig your awareness of your own psyche and of your own purpose, so that you can actually start to reclaim your voice and allow yourself to sing again. So the first sign, and I started to kind of get into it. I've been getting ahead of myself lately, but the first sign that you want to sing again is that you're accomplishing a lot, but your life still feels empty. Like, I know what it's like to be an overachiever, to be somebody that loves to see things work out in you being praised for something that you have done, getting money for things that you have done, getting promotions for things that you have done. There's a lot of us in our lives, especially those of us that have, made it through our 30s or are making it through our 30s, and we've now gotten to the point where our life doesn't necessarily have to be a reflection of our passions in order for us to find some level of gratification. So a lot of us settle for not even necessarily instant gratification, but gratification that doesn't require us to, I guess, sacrifice or to have a period where we have to kind of figure out how bills work. A lot of us even have money as a gratification. Like the bills are paid, we have like wonderful lives with the people that we've built our lives with, whether it be coworkers, whether it be friends, whether it be spouses, whether it be even children that we've had. We've created these lives that have so much gratification, but out of all of those different places that have been fulfilled, there is still a level of emptiness. And the fact that you're listening to this podcast means that emptiness is coming from singing. A lot of us have settled in our lives, and we don't necessarily want to admit it, but because we have levels of gratification that come from the other areas of our life, we can maybe talk our way around it and allow singing to, what if it's been gone for 10 years, we can allow it to go for another 5. We can allow it to go for another 10 because there are other areas that are gratifying us. But the reality is that level of emptiness, and even for a lot of people, hopelessness, only grows the more that we leave singing on the back burner. And a lot of us have the excuse of just, oh my gosh, my time, I don't have any time to be able to do it. But But the reality is that empty feeling that shows up when you're alone, when you put your head on the pillow at night, is starting to actually take over your life and consume your life in ways that are actually starting to affect your overall productivity, whether it be in your work, whether it be in your other passions, whether it be in church. There is a cost for not answering the call of purpose and not answering the call of singing when that's something that you're called to do. So that's the first sign that you want to sing again, is that you're accomplishing a lot, but your life still feels empty. Your second sign that you want to sing again is that you're constantly remembering the moment that singing left your life, and you wish that you could turn around. With the people that I speak to, there are so many people that look back in their lives and they are able to pinpoint the exact moment where, for people that have already sung in their life, they're able to pinpoint a moment in their life where singing was taken from them. Whether it was, life got busy, or they weren't in the music program that they had in high school, or they had a bad teacher, or they had a traumatic experience that made singing a traumatic experience. There are so many things that can happen in life that steal singing away from us. But the thing about people that want to sing again is that they are constantly going back to the days when they weren't, affected by whether it was the trauma or whether it was the life circumstance, and they were able to sing freely. And that level of regret means that your heart and your brain, even literally, is longing for you to have that back in your life again. And that's not something that you have to live with. That regret isn't something that you have to live with. But because there are so many life circumstances that have now replaced singing, there seems to be no time to be able to actually do those things. And so you constantly get wrapped up in the cares of life, in the circumstances of life, and you constantly look back, and you get wrapped up and you look back, and it becomes this constant pattern of regret. And there is nothing that actually interrupts the pattern to say, yes, we're actually going to go this way. And there's nothing that actually is and even I would even say that a lot of us end up afraid of actually reaching into that part of our past and allowing it to awaken again. And I told you, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we're going to leave that for another time. But that's the second sign that you're constantly looking back to that time when that music teacher, changed your life, and then all of a sudden you weren't singing anymore. Or you're looking back to that choir that activated this light inside of you that is no longer there and that you miss, right? So the third sign that you want to sing again is, get ready, everybody. It's coping mechanisms. And the thing is, we hear about coping mechanisms all the time. I've talked about it on another episode, one of these episodes. I can't even remember which episode it was. But there was a TikTok that I did that actually kind of went a little bit viral, because a lot of us have been living with coping mechanisms, whether it be as drastic as something like drug addiction or abuse or alcohol abuse, or it could be food, or it could be video games. There are different levels of coping mechanisms, and some of them are worse than others, or some of them have more lasting impact or more consequences than others. And so a lot of us can deal with lesser coping mechanisms thinking that we're still okay, when in reality our body and our brain is in a state of regret still, like we talked about in the last point. And so with these coping mechanisms, they wrap up our life they wrap up our time, and they comfort and they soothe the pain that we're not actually the pain that comes from us not actually singing. And I remember the episode now. It was the dangers of numbing yourself to your singing dream. That's the name of the episode. Go back and watch that, and you'll be able to get in a little bit of that. But these coping mechanisms, honestly, they rob us of our extra time, and they give us more of an excuse of why we can't actually reach back into our singing. And here's the thing: coping mechanisms not only take up our time, coping mechanisms also take up our money, right? Like there's a way where we can find our way to make space for the things that will comfort us, and they find their way in our budget, and we make space in our time and in our budget for these things just so that we can feel a level of comfort when in reality we're in pain, right? And the solution is not to continue to leave yourself in a state of numbness. The solution is to actually face the giant and face the fear that you've been dealing with that comes with stepping back into something that's been gone for so long, right? Now, the fourth sign that you want to sing again is something that comes along the line, especially when you've been away from singing for so long. You keep making excuses as to why the time is not now, why it's not time to sing. Whether it's and I see this all the time, where there's people that have different life responsibilities that steal from their time, and because people are used to having their time stolen from them, they actually, allow these people in these places to steal from their time, and they have no time for themselves. And after having no time for yourself for so long, you start to think that you actually have no time. And that mentality in itself becomes an excuse as to why we can't actually pursue the thing that we want to pursue. And the reason why we're coming up with an excuse is because we're actually afraid, and we're not willing to admit it. Like, there's a level of arrogance that actually comes along with not doing your purpose. And again, like we said if you're listening to this podcast, especially this late, is definitely singing, right? Like we make up so many excuses as to why we can't actually do the thing, when in reality we're actually afraid. And that actually leads, I've been wanting to get to this last point, because when I wrote it down, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so real. The fifth sign that you actually want to sing again, and you're not allowing yourself, or you're not actually doing it, but you really want to, is that that if you were to actually face the fear of the unknown, the fear of actually and possibly even an embarrassment of, after so long, coming back to something, a love that you had denied yourself from for so long, you actually would become someone that you've never met before. Like, if you actually allowed yourself to sing again, if you actually allowed yourself to be passionate and to love this beautiful expression of your inner self, if you allowed yourself to love that again, you actually will become somebody that you're not used to and that you've never met before. And that in itself terrifies you. Like, not singing, even though you want to, at a certain point, is no longer just about singing. It's about you actually being afraid of the person that you will become if you actually allow yourself to be passionate about this thing. A lot of us have built identities out of the denial of what we actually love. Like, some of us, and we can talk about it. Some of us are, wrapped up in volunteer work, that we're so wrapped up in volunteer work that if we would actually say yes to singing, we would actually pull back in some of these volunteer experiences to actually make time for ourselves. And we're worried about what other people would think if we were to actually pull back. Some of us are even parents, whether it's, whatever the age of your children are. We've given ourselves so much, and I'll probably say you because I'm not a parent yet, but you've given yourself so much to your children that you feel guilty for even taking any time for yourself. And you've created the lie that you actually don't have time, when in reality, if you were to actually feed that purpose and to become the person that you actually need to be, you fear that you won't be able to give that time to your children anymore. But here's the reality. That person that you're afraid of becoming is actually the real you. It's actually the real you. And, there have been so many different things that we've said to say, okay, actually the real me is the part of me that's actually just living life and, struggling, whatever. No. The reason why you keep looking back to that moment where singing left you is because singing was never supposed to leave in the first place. And if you are in that place where you know that this is who you are and you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing, especially if you have allowed yourself to make all of these accomplishments and singing is not on the list anywhere because of a traumatic experience of the past, or because you haven't allowed or because it's just been so long, what I want you to do is actually get on a voice breakthrough call with me. I've set out some time in my schedule to actually be able to talk to you guys and actually help you to reclaim your voice, because this is the reason why you're watching this podcast today, because today is the day and the mark where you actually make a difference in your own life and you actually take back your life. Like, reclaiming your voice is so much more than just about singing, but singing is the gate for you to be able to reclaim your life. You getting back into this thing that you've loved so much is actually you reclaiming your life and being the person that you've been scared of being for so long. And I want to be able to take your hand in this process and create a plan to allow singing to stay in your life and actually show you who you were meant to be all of this time. A lot of us are living like walking fractions of ourselves. We're walking zombies. We're the walking dead. We're not living anymore. And I want to help you to change that. So I want you to get on a call with me. Go to reclaimyourvoice.ca/call, book a call. And if you are enjoying this podcast, if you really feel like this is resonating with you, definitely leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. 5-star this on wherever you're listening to your podcast. And what I'll do is you're going to hear me on the next episode of the Reclaim Your Voice podcast. Okay? So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and we'll talk soon. See you later.